Good morning and welcome to another edition of Roadhouse Live. We are live today as October 26, 2023. We have been through an absolute just beat down bender, beat down over the last several weeks. If you really go back and, take a picture, if you will. We made a pretty significant low last night that appeared to bounce just depending on what time frame you want to look like. That kind of looks okay. Um, we've come off of that very nicely. The question ultimately is it over? Um, the data this morning points to a world that exists to where everything that the Fed has been talking about for the last 12 to 18 months, um, it showed up in a way that makes sense for bull to not be selling and bear to kind of take a step back. That's what the data points to. Now, the data over the last several weeks has been, again, very positive for bull. Okay. But it doesn't matter. It hasn't mattered. So again, we're at this point. It's like we can all sit here and look at the chart and be like, well, there's another 400 points down on the NQ that we can go. Well, there's another, maybe 100, 7,500 points on the ES to go down. We can say that over and over and over again. That these are the things. What we do know that should not be taken for granted in any capacity. Flow is so toxically bearish, so toxically bearish. And when you go through some of these targets that we've seen over the last few days, Apple in and around 160, ER hedge maybe, or is it directional? I don't know. AMD under 90. Is that really a thing? Are we like reverting in time like 7 years? Is that what we're doing now? Particular like AMD. We do know that Microsoft popped, sold off. We know that Netflix popped and it's held up pretty well. We know that Meta had a decent pop and then gave back and then some. And we have effectively, right in through here, right now, I believe, filled the overnight gap down. So we're right back to square coming into open. That's what I do know. That's what I can see. The other things and the other pieces of the pie, I think that if you are an unemotional, keen observer of the market, Bender, which I don't know, I'm a keen observer of the market. Unemotional is not me. But in looking at it, there was a trade put on in order to pound the 10-year up and through the fucking roof, and that's what they've done. While in the meantime, selling equities because I don't know. These ERs are not bad. The guidance is not bad. It's not amazing, but I don't know if it's worth retracing several years of activity.
I
Because the
mean,
data,
I don't
because the,
know.
the data isn't cracking. That GDP number was great. It's like, what the fuck are you going to say about that GDP print? What are you going to say about how PCE came in? It's like there's a lot of this stuff that you look at. It's just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? So I'll flip it back to you, and you can walk through the charts, but it's impossible for the most part to call a quote unquote bottom. But everything that is pointed to says this is nothing more than a trade, and within several percentage points, they're probably done. So
Yeah.
that's what I got.
Well, just on your comment on AMD, are we going back to 7 years ago? Well, AMD was 55 a year
Mm-hmm.
ago.
Yeah, adjusted for inflation, it should probably be over 110, especially if you factor in their growth in sales and capture of market share. Again, it's like you
I won't say PE. Okay. Let's
it's like,
go.
yeah,
I
yeah,
know how you
no, it's
feel
like
about that.
fine. It's like, but then I'll flip it. Um, does Intel need to go back under 30? Because that's one and the same.
but it's not. They don't. Okay. We've talked about that, and it doesn't really matter at this point. Okay, so I want to start with this 4-hour chart, just so we have eyes on this 41.55.75. You can see we took out kind of this double bottom ish area that we had in here, right around 4,200, 4204, 4204.75. So we took that out. Will we go down here and take this out? I'm not sure. That's 41.55.75. Again, if you're looking to try to figure out, what the objective is, because I agree with you, like all of this is just a trade, right? The world's not ending, as far as we know. And, I agree with you that there was an objective here. We don't get to know that information. We've tried to talk a few of our members into, joining the Pink Polo Boys in the janitor's closet to try to get us some information. That has not worked out thus far. So therefore we have to revert to the charts. So in this scenario, it's, trying to figure out, okay, what is that objective? What are they looking to do? Where are they looking to take this? When I look at the daily, outside of, again, this is kind of where that bottom had formed, that 4204 area. It's like, okay, we wicked potentially, depending on how we end up today. Maybe we wicked that low, or maybe they want to bring it down here and take out this 4154 into this daily fair value gap here. And then if they really want to make it ugly, it comes all the way down here, right? Because there's not a whole lot else, it's chop. There was a bunch of chop in here, but this area in here down to 41.1675, like as far as daily fair value gaps go, this is the last of the bunch, right? When you look back down in here, everything's been filled, right? So this is kind of the last of it. It's right in here that was left open. So I'm not sure, ultimately where they're looking to take it, but given that we did take out, all these stops, anyone that got long in here before that run up, a lot of that has been taken. There's still, I think, one left down here. But, until we get that, again, another market structure shift, that will avoid or help to avoid, trying to knife catch.
Do you know what's interesting? If you look at the Dow on the daily, just because I think when we talk about market structure shift, the daily on the Dow looks. Maybe I was looking at, maybe it was something else. Maybe it was like the 4-hour that I was looking at, made it appear that is within that has a potential market structure shift coming into play.
Well, it made a new low here. So, if you throw,
and the reason why I find that interesting is really because it is, throw the IWM out the window. We all know that it's a bag of trash in there. But this one has, it was weaker to the upside and has led the downside. And in a lot of ways, it appears like it's trying to kind of form out a bottom. And for the most part, overnight, it was not down very much. It was fractionally down overnight, which again, I just find it kind of interesting and looking at it. And then I'm, kind of pulled up the either 4-hour, 5-hour, whatever it was. And it looked like there was something within there that kind of made sense. Maybe I was seeing something different. I don't know. Maybe I was hallucinating. That's possible.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the, and I was just kind of comparing, which I was doing last night too, just kind of comparing on the daily, these lows in here from May on the ES and kind of where those line up. So this May 4th, May 5th, right in here, you can see my cursor on the Dow where that lines up, right? So pretty much across the board, we have taken that area across all the indices. If I scroll back just a little bit, you can see how much lower. So if we're looking at the ES on April 27th, look where the NASDAQ was, where the Dow was, right? So the Dow has taken out all of that price action in there. ES has not quite, we talked about it was close. NASDAQ has a ways to go if it's going to go do that, right? That's another, let's see, what are we at? 14,400.
Another 400, 400 to 600 down, right?
That's down 13,250.
Okay. Yeah.
1,000 points, 1,200 points. So, yeah, just comparatively, like the NASDAQ would have a long ways to go take out those lows. The Dow has already done it, and the ES would have just a little bit further to travel to get there. Okay, going back to, let's go to a 60-minute here. Let's go to a 15. Okay. So obviously we had this gap down that we had between, for that hour that it was closed last night when it reopened. We had this actual gap down that occurred. I had this 41.97 half kind of marking, taking out all of these stops. Well, now it's through that. Maybe it goes and gets gap fill. I don't know. Maybe it tries to trade into this gap. Maybe that gap just acts as resistance. Don't know, but the top of that would be 4204. I think that's 4204 half right there. And you can see this 15-minute candle, or 15-minute candle here that leaves the 15-minute fair value gap behind. If you are trying to, look for potential low risk entry short, maybe that's into this gap, looking for a retracement, maybe back into this fair value gap. If you're looking to try to play scoop long, maybe you get a pullback into this fair value gap. If you're short and it comes down into here, that's where I would be looking for, potential support right in here. If that gives way, 4171, a move below 4171, this would be that area that I would look for. If it comes down here, it wicks and it reclaims that and leaves a fair value gap behind on the candle back up and pulls back into it, that might be an area to look for a potential market structure shift on the shorter time frames. If it gets below this and this becomes resistance, then I'm looking down here at those candles, those lows from April, right? The 4150s area. If it gets through this gap and it can come up here to the 4220s area, this would be another spot to look at for a reaction. If it gets above 42.23.25 and it just kind of wicks it and pulls back down, leaves that fair value gap behind, trades back up into it, that would be a potential short opportunity. kind of depending on flow and price action, right? If it breaks through that, leaves that fair value gap behind and trades down back into it, that could be a potential long opportunity. Looking for 42, 48, 75. Realistically, because this fair value gap has already been traded up into, if it starts heading this direction above 42.23, I don't know that this is necessarily going to stop it, right? At that point, it's more likely that it's headed up here, 42.63.75. So that's kind of what I'd be keeping an eye on today and tomorrow. Name of the game is 41.71.25. If that gets taken, what kind of reaction do we get? Right. And on the flip side, if this gap fills and we go up and take 42.22, 42.23.25, what is that reaction? So that's kind of over the next couple days. In the short term, watch this fair value gap right in here and see if this acts as support or if this becomes resistance. If that becomes resistance, then again, looking down here, let's see what it does with this gap.
Yeah, totally agree. Thank you, Bender.
Yep.
Stonks, what you got, buddy?
Yo. All right. Yeah, let's get into some stuff. We'll go through news. Let's see. Siemens Energy slide 32% after company seeks support from German government. Let's see. ECB rate decision unchanged. And then a lot of earnings related moves. Let's see what we got. Meta price targets getting upgraded. Boeing price target lowered, downgrade. Now price target raised up to 648. Is there anything? Upgraded Microsoft. Wow, you're gonna buy Microsoft? Okay, shocker. LYV upgraded. BBWI into the BBWs. So you got Bath Body Works downgraded. Shake Shack downgraded. McDonald's downgrade. Starbucks lowered from a 105 to 100. Those look like the important ones. Some funky dark pools last night. What did we get? Monster. Been talking about that. They keep hitting Monster. Zillow got a big one. WBD. We looked at that big bull risk reversal multi-leg, and they hit WBD with 75.6% average 30-day volume in this area. And then let's see what else we got. Spotify was on the list. So dark pools you can check out. My room, you can check out Sun's room. That'll get you caught up over there. Let's jump into some charts. We got some smashings on deck. Let's see if they break. So again, reminder, this is a failed breakout strategy. Yesterday we closed below the prior day's low, so we'll be looking to buy breakout above the high in your stop, which we've determined Mr. Larry Williams has a bigger bank account than us, but your stop would be yesterday's low. So we have alerts set in the room. This is all across the board, SPY, Q, IWM. So there's alert sets. If we were to pop yesterday's high, that would be a smash day to the upside. Mr. Larry Williams would be going long. So that's kind of what we got going on over there. If we jump over to the NASDAQ with all the markup on it. So one thing that has me a little bit nervous is that we lost this, I've been kind of tracking to see if we can put in this massive flag on the longer time frame, and interested to see if what we do now. We had the earnings last night. We lost this trend line, and now we're going to go up and retest it. This orange box here is going to be this weekly gap. This candle's high, that one's low, and you can see we filled it almost to the tick overnight, and now we're getting a bounce. So we'll see if we have to go back and fill that in. I was in the process of adding in this little gap that similar to what Bender was showing. So see if we have to trade up and through that one. That was from that overnight earnings reactions. So we'll see what we get, and then if we can continue and get back into this big flag. We left some stuff behind. This 4-hour gap, you can see this candle's high to that one's low. So we'll, if we can get moving to the upside, this will be, first area to keep on watch. 14,543, or yeah, 53425 over there on the Nasdaq. And then if we have to, go fill this in and lose that, we're gonna have to start zooming out, maybe even swap over to the continuous contract to get some more levels below. So I'll be working on that as we get things going. Let's see, Rusty. So Rusty, we talked about yesterday, market tends to keep doing what it's been doing, and we were talking about Rusty looking like, it could keep going down because of this kind of gnarly downtrend it's been on. And so we swept that low already, and then we're bouncing back into it. So I've kind of zoomed out to see what else I could find below. So we've got this key level here to want to see that hold, the 1647. And then if we keep going down, it looks like there definitely would be something down here at this 15,8670. Offsides would be this one. So we'll see if we can get up and through that 16,7770, and then above that we've got this weekly gap that we've been tracking, and then the new week opening gap. New week opening gap here, this little pink box. So we'll see what we get on the Rusty, but yeah, it looks like it's just sell into the pops is the easiest trade over there on the IWM or the Russell. For individual tickers, let's see, we had a big dark pool last night on coin. So let's see, and it's coming right up into it. So that's going to be this level here, this 77.79. So if we can pop 77.79, the first target I'd be looking for would be this 79.10. This has been a key level in the past. So, if you take it long, that could be a first profit target. And then above, we've got this dark pool that also gets a bunch of reactions, 80.95. So that's if we're going to look to the upside on coin. Below, I'm going to be looking at the 75.90, a lot of reactions there. And then that would probably, you could have a target down here. 72.65. And then, if you kind of zoom out here, almost is now starting to look like just a big bear flag. The way it's been making these slightly higher highs against that trend line, we get this lower trend line. But a main focus for this morning is going to be how we react as we run up into this 77.79. Similarly, Microsoft, Microsoft gets a lot of dark pool, and it was quiet until last night was the first day in a while I'd seen a big one, which is going to be this level here, 340.67. So it looks like we're just sitting 30 cents above it. So if we can come back, retest, and hold, that'd be long. And then you've got a big dark pool here, 25% up at 343.77 on Microsoft. If we lose this, first downside target now, since we're already well above, I'll be looking at this 336.95, and then below that we had a dark pool that kind of lined up with some of these fibs down there, 334.26 on Microsoft, and I think that's all I got.
Awesome.
All right. Well, there you have it. You guys have anything else?
I don't think so. I have not looked at the Bitcoin this morning.
So we're 34 when I looked at it, but that was super early this morning.
It was kind of crazy to see Bitcoin pumping with, and I'm aware of the hype around the ETF, yada, 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 speculation, if you will. But to see it doing what it was doing.
It's a pretty remarkable move. It's like last night with everything blood red across everything, all the crypto names, like even the trash ones they were pretty lit last night.
Interesting.
It is because it's like when we were, really pushing to the upside, it's like Bitcoin was definitely lagging. Now we have the inverse, right? It's like it was
Well, what's
down
interesting to
that
me,
24 to 28 range. And then it seemed somehow it just managed to get over 32 overnight. That was cool.
what's interesting to me is that, this is the highest Bitcoin has been since February of last year. Right. And you look at names like, okay, Riot. Well, it really hasn't made much of a move in comparison. Right. I know Mara had that offering. What's the Mara doing? Although even with the offering, if you look at Mara and Riot, they look very similar. Looking at some of the other names, they really haven't made a move, which is interesting.
I think I guess in some ways, doesn't the market have to not go down or have they moved completely inverse to the market in the past? I'm not super familiar.
Yeah, I think typically they move with the crypto, but yeah, I don't know. I haven't followed them. And I'm gonna have to do a little, because I am interested to find out. Like, it's kind of an interesting dynamic, right? Like, if the rest of the market is retracing or dropping or whatever, and crypto is pumping, what happens to equities that are miners? It's interesting. Anyway,
it's like I've seen it with gold the same way. Like I've seen spot gold move up and the miners not.
And gold miners down.
Yeah. It's like I've seen that. It's like that I'm very familiar with.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I think there's got to be like a macro narrative to it behind Bitcoin. If we think about, they've got the rate decisions. The banks are trash right now. The banks suck. All the bank ERs were ugly. They've got Japan over there that, what are they? They're trying to control yields and they don't know what they're doing. They're introducing new, they're no comment on what they're doing with this 150 level on the US dollar yen. So it's like, if everything else is so suspicious, I mean, they're buying gold, and then I guess, maybe there's a look to it of like, well, yeah, maybe I'll park some money in crypto where I don't have to be worried every night that there's some new rate decision or bond yields or, making these insane moves. It's like there could be something going on there where people are looking to crypto as.
You don't have to worry about rates, but you have to worry about dudes that, may just completely rug an entire company.
Exactly.
There's that.
That's my.
But yeah,
got your Halloween costume there.
Different risk tolerance, I guess. I can't trust what the Fed is doing, but that dude that's parked in the Bahamas, he's legit.
Yeah,
it's funny.
No, it really, really is funny, and it becomes interesting because now I'm sitting here looking at the dollar. The dollar's trying to bounce, and we're a little bit wibble wobblish in through here. The dollar selling down off of that data was very interesting. And if they run it back up, do they run us back down? It's like again, there's so many disjointed pieces to the whole thing. I think Sooner said it best yesterday. It's just a day to walk away yesterday, as far as like trying to figure out what's going on and trying to to play, action that you don't necessarily understand. So hat tip to Sooner
And I
yesterday
think that's
for just calling it,
yeah,
in a very, very obvious way. Not every day and not every market condition is going to fit everybody's eye.
exactly. And I think that's great to just kind of call out, like, if you can't make sense of it, and if you're sitting there going, I don't know what the hell they're going to do, well, that's not the time to push buttons,
I made the least
right?
amount of trades yesterday that I've made in the past couple of months.
Yeah.
And just because it's just like every last bit of it, it's like I couldn't find any type of through line to make sense for me other than, if we're going to zero because nobody can tell me why.
Because somebody put on a trade and they want to get paid,
Right?
and they're going
It's
to
like,
make it happen.
they're going to force it. We've seen it to the upside though, too, Bender.
Of
It's
course.
like,
Yeah.
it's like we've seen just the illogical, just like, wait, what are we doing? How is this? But when they decide to put on a trade, and that entails price fixing and collusion, which is what it is, um, buckle up. Buckle up.
And try
So
not to be on the opposite side of that trade.
exactly. So
Yeah.
again, hat tip to Sooner yesterday. It's like, there was just such a vague comment, but I thought it was pretty profound and worth sharing. So that's all I got, guys. Just be smart.
All right.
This is probably one of the more unforgiving markets I think I've traded in a while. And even with COVID, with that downspin, at least there was a boogeyman. This just weird. So weird. Anyways, thank you,
All
Bender.
right.
Thanks, Stonkington.
Yeah. See you soon.
See ya.